Yo, what's good? Hey, is a happy Veterans Day to all of my fellow vets out there, every service member, every family of a service members, and shout out to the spouses of service members because that's probably the hardest job ever. Hey, this is probably my favorite holiday because I get a bunch of free shit. So of course I made a world tour. I got some free breakfast. I went to a couple of Krispy Kremes and got free donuts because I love Krispy Kreme donuts. I mean, it just didn't stop. And when this is over with, I'm probably gonna go somewhere with my wife and go out to dinner so both of us could get some free stuff. It's dope because both of us are veterans, so they think that they could charge at least one of us. Then they be real hot when they can't charge anybody. But hey, I appreciate y'all tuning into the live. I'm Marcus. I'm a licensed attorney. You're at the channel The Debt Free Dad, where we're talking financial takes, financial topics. Y'all know I like to do attorney reactions on current events, or if something that just piques my interest or somebody want me to chop it up about. And we're also, in addition to all of that good stuff, we're also following my family's journey to financial freedom, where we're paying off student loans, and we're right at the cusp, right close to hitting that first generation millionaire status. So that's what it's all about. As always, I got to give the disclaimer to keep the folks over at the Bar Association happy. I'm a licensed attorney, but I'm not your attorney. So this isn't legal advice. This isn't financial advice. This is just, me giving free game and my thoughts of opinions. If you're looking for a professional, hey, seek a professional in your area. And sometimes on the show, like today, we have somebody who's a professional in a certain subject matter area. So that's definitely dope. Hey, what's going on, sis? Thanks for tuning in. I definitely appreciate you. Now, before we bring our guest on, every now and then I have a story I got to tell. And I was like, damn, like I knew I was getting old and my gray hair is telling me I'm getting old. But like I really felt old today because my son went on a college tour. I was like, damn, this dude went on a college tour. I felt ancient. So he went to go look at Old Dominion University and some other school. And I was like, damn, I feel old as hell because this dude gonna be out in a few years. Now you would think in my mind, I would be like, yes, one down, one to go. But it's actually the opposite. I find myself wanting to do more things with the entire family because I like know subconsciously that's in a couple of years it's gonna all be over. Because I'm sure he gonna do what I did. Once I was 17, there was two things I didn't do. I didn't come back home, and I probably didn't go to church when I should have been going to church. So, but yeah, your boy feeling old. My son going on college tours. This is what it is. My daughter had this crazy look on his face because she was like it just hit her today. Like at some point he's gonna be gone and it's just gonna be her hair. She only 11, so she can't rationalize not seeing a guy who she's seen every day of her life. It was just kind of wild. But in any event, today's video is going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun video because it's kind of a subject area that I really like to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about fraud, scammers, people who be on that BS, people who try to run game on your finances. Why is this topic hit home for me? Well, because at one point I represented some fraudsters and some scammers, and then at another point I prosecuted and investigated some fraudsters and scammers. So I got a pretty unique outlook. I got my homegirl who's going to join us today. Hey, she's certified on the finance game. She can coach and get people exactly where they want to be. But in addition to that, she has a lot of free game that she's going to give us on scams that people fall for, common scams, things to look out for, how to avoid them. We're going to chop it up. So I want everybody to give a round of applause. I really need one of them buttons so I can hit it and be like, "Brr, brr, 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 brr." But I want, but I want everybody to give my homegirl Melissa Mazard a round of applause. I'm about to tag her in right now, so let's introduce her to the channel. What's going on, sis? How you doing?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Hey,
Happy Veterans Day. Thank you so much for your service. I did
hey,
not
I,
say
I,
that earlier.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And hey, thank you for blessing the intellectual family with, your presence to be able to drop some knowledge and gems. So it's definitely an honor. I'm glad we were able to make this happen. I know your boy got a little tied up, but I was like, I got to make sure that I come through. So, hey, this is going to be a first, but it damn sure won't be a last. Now, before we get started, I want you to go and give a little introduction, tell folks about yourself, your credentials, because everybody like to talk about whatever their credentials are, and let everybody know where they can find you on the social platforms and the website. And for everybody watching, I'm also going to put all that information in the description box as well for this video.
All right. So yes, thank you once again. My name is Melissa Mazard. We were having a discussion about the pronunciation. I'm not going to go into it. Let's just go with that. But I'm an AFC, an accredited financial counselor, and basically, I just help people with getting their finances together so that they could live in alignment with more purposeful living, so that they can be more at peace with their finances and just with life. When your finances are kind of out of whack, it's very stressful, and it could um, really distract you from what it is that you came here to do. I don't know where
Right.
that even came from. That was all
No,
I wanted to say today. But yeah, so we met at FinCon a few weeks ago, a few months ago now. Um, and it was my first. Have been trying to build Prosper with Mel. Thank you for putting that down at the bottom. Prosper with Mel is the platform where everyone can find me on Instagram. Soon I will be doing blogs and YouTube videos and things like that. So thank you so much.
dope, dope, dope. So yeah, it's interesting because it's funny. I could tell that's funny, and it ain't like I've been to 55,000 fan cons, but I could kind of tell. I could kind of tell in any event, when you've been in a lot of meetings and environments, I can kind of tell when it's someone's who first time in any environment. I don't care if I'm at a club, I'll be like, oh, this dude first time in the club. This dude first time in the casino. So I can kind of tell, like I can kind of spot the noobs away, but I'm definitely glad that you can, bless the channel. And one of the people we ran into, I don't know if you remember the multi-level marketing folks we ran into down there. That's definitely one thing that we're gonna chop it up about when we talk about things that are, you know, I consider scams, even though they technically aren't illegal, but something I consider a scam. Now, before we get started, I always like to ask every guest, just tell us a little bit about your background with finances. Now, you don't got to go in super deep because I know a lot of that background information is just juicy, great content. But in general, I like to have the intellectual savage family get an idea of, just a little bit of the background of the person with finance. Was it something that was common? Was it like a lot of people who, supporters and family members and hell, the host, is it the school of hard knocks route? So let us know, a little bit about your background as it relates to finances.
I remember dealing with money at a young age. But I didn't really get my official lesson in money until my high school senior economics class.
Hmm.
So, money is something that I always like had not access to, but just like I always was touching. Let's put
Mm-hmm.
it that way. But I didn't know the power until I started making money that
Right.
same year, senior year in high school. It wasn't a long lesson. I really don't remember the lesson, honestly, but I know that is where I learned about budgeting and saving and things like that. And so that's when I fell in love with finance. And
Nice.
um, fast forward, that is what I decided to do as a career. But that doesn't mean that I haven't had any financial challenges. Like, I feel like even though I had this knowledge early in my life, I still had a financial journey. And so yeah, that's something that I um, pull from when I work with people. I have gone through the same situations as a lot of individuals. So yeah, uh, that's a little bit about my background.
Okay, well that's dope. That even if you started to get them gems like in high school or your senior year, like that's mad early. Like I don't know. I like, I had money touch my hands, but it was definitely going in one hand and out of the other. I honestly can remember. Let's say let's say I was getting income, and as I was getting income, and me and my brother were getting income, it was something that you can't just go out and if you're a knucklehead. Thank God for stash. If you're a knucklehead, you can't just go out and buy nice stuff all the time. Because what the hell you think your parents gonna say? Where'd you get the nice stuff from? So we literally would buy like cool ass clothes and stash them in the woods behind the crib. So we would
Wow.
leave out the house in our bum ass clothes and then go back.
Wow.
We had to stash the Ziploc bags and put on our fresh clothes because we didn't want moms to be like, "Hey, I don't remember buying you those shoes or that shirt." So yeah, we was kind of foolish, you know. Even when I got that first job, I kind of let it pass through. So the fact that you got those gems, you know, at high school, even if it was senior year, was really dope because a lot of people don't get them until they out in life and life kick them in the ass a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Yeah, I never really felt susceptible to like overspending or like just racking up all this debt. Like I knew better. I had learned that early. But again, I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but my journey is not like something that I had to
Right,
read
right.
from.
Right, right. Yeah, you gotta play your financial and you gotta play your life with the cards that you was dealt. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of the nature of it. Now let's talk about, you know, before we even talk about these different types of scams, because I got some good ass videos, some good ass data points that we're gonna cover because the breakdown of the compensation for the MLM was hilarious to me when I looked at that shit. It was the funniest thing I've seen in years. But before we even start, let's just ask a typical general question. All right. Why why is it so easy and why are people so susceptible for falling for scams, especially when it comes to finances? Like give me your take on that. What makes people so susceptible? I mean, we see scams out there that are just I got a video that I'm gonna play of a scam. When you look at it, I'm like, you know what? I feel like it's 90% the victim's fault in this case. Why are people so susceptible for falling to scams when it comes to finances?
There are so many reasons. I mean, just lack of education is one. If you just don't know, then having someone who sounds or looks like they do know, and
Right,
you
right.
just put your trust and just hope that and trust that they are telling you the truth so you move forward. Or even just desperation. Sometimes you're
Right,
just like, I need this to work.
right, right, right.
And yeah, so things
Yeah,
like
I think that's a good point. Um, and I also think you're a lot nicer than I am as a person. Because I think a lot of it, I ain't gonna say a lot of it, but I would say a big part of it is I think a lot of people just want something for nothing. I think a lot of people are comfortable with, you know, and I agree that that's everything you said is a part of it. I think that, you know, you got to have some education to be able to, you know, see if something passed the sniff test. Like, wait a minute, this don't even smell right. I probably shouldn't eat this sandwich because it just don't smell right. One of those type of things. So you got to have the education.
that.
But I also think a small part is that people just are prone to take the path of least resistance. If I want to get a goal and I'm like, man, you saying what? I could triple my money in 60 days? Oh, snap. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. You introduced me to two people who said they tripled their money. I think this is a plan I'm doing. I think a lot of people just want to have an easy win, have a come up, what so to speak, could come up and just find that one opportunity that's going to put them in the right position or allow them to be able to get something that they need or that they want. So I feel like people just kind of ignore the whole risk versus reward. They're like, I do see a risk here, but yo, the reward is 200% return. I can't beat that. So I, I agree with everything you said, but I also think that a lot of times the victims are just sold this dream and they just buy into that shit a little too easily, in my opinion. What you think about that?
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I cannot relate to that. Like I have like I cannot. I mean, I guess I say one thing. One time I was scammed. I had allowed someone to do my taxes. That's what he did, but he did it wrong.
Did the IRS contact you after he did them?
Couple years later, and I was just like, wow. And I knew better because it just sounded too good to be true because I knew better. But at the time, I just needed that to work for me.
Right,
so,
right, 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 right.
but that's a funny story that like I laugh at it now, but
Right, right. Oh, that gotta
Um,
be terrible too. So a couple of years later, that was when you actually found out it was jacked up.
I knew, like, I already had it in the back of my mind, like, you know what, like, so
Right, right,
I
right,
really couldn't be mad. I really couldn't be mad.
right.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a common thing though, especially that one. I got stories of people who like they get the person across the street to do their taxes, and I'm like, yeah, just get the tax software and do it yourself. So I think that's a there's a bunch of reasons, like you said, that people fall for scams. So I'm not going to put the onus completely on them. But I think the same things that cause people to fall for them is what makes them a target. Most people, when you talk about who to target as a scam. It's the same way as, my wife laughs at me all the time, but I was like, it's probably anybody could get carjacked, right? But if an individual is going to jack someone for their car, sometimes they look and evaluate the target is. Now it's different if they just try, occasionally you have somebody who want to jack a baller for his Bentley. Those are different scenarios. When it comes to Joe Citizen, if you see an elderly guy in a Honda Accord coming up versus a younger guy in a Honda Accord who look like he may give you some run or look like he may have a strap on him, people take those things into consideration. So the same things that make people fall for them are the same things that people who perpetrate these schemes can identify with. Like, you look a little vulnerable. You got some assets. You look like you may be susceptible to this BS that I'm going to run. So tell me your thoughts on like, just what have you seen that made people, just more susceptible? Like these two or three things tend to make people more susceptible. I know lack of education is one, but outside of that, is there anything else that you've seen that people really kind of look for specifically? Like, okay, this is my target right here. Like a lion chasing a gazelle. You want to find the one with the limping leg and like, oh, he injured. Let me go bite down on that one. What are your thoughts on that?
that is a great question. I mean, it's definitely number 1, lack of education.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah,
hmm,
I think that, and I think you touched on it too. You said, people will do a lot to get out of a bad situation. If you don't have the education and you already stressed about money,
mhm.
whatever you stressing about, that's a pressure point. So somebody can touch that pressure point. If if you and I were in a relationship and I'm stressed out about my relationship, somebody could touch a pressure point because I'm stressed out about the relationship. I know it may be a rocky situation. Because of that, the most minute thing will cause me to think something different or try something different. And I think it kind of works the same way when you see victims of crimes. I represented a guy once who started had a Ponzi scheme. He stole millions of dollars from retired teachers. And I was like, why would he go to retired teachers? And he told me, he was like, retired teachers, they all got pensions. He was like, they all got pensions. He was like, they're educators, but a lot of times if they retire from like a public school system, high school, middle school, they may not be financially savvy, but I know they got the resources. So he had a whole list of things that he pointed for. Like if somebody retired early, he's like, I don't want to talk to that person. I want to talk to the person who is in their 70s as opposed to a teacher who took an early out and retired at 55 or 56. So it get kind of crazy. You know what I mean?
And I work with teachers, a lot of teachers in my career, so I can see like what he means by like targeting the older ones versus
Right.
the younger ones. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, when you're like kind of desperate, you're not thinking straight, you're not making the right decisions. Your thoughts are really clouded by your problems.
Right.
So if you're not really thinking about solutions and are being led by your fears or the problems or financial issues, then that leaves you open to getting scammed or being scammed.
Right, right. So I'm gonna put the ball on your court. What is the first one on the list of things that you've seen that you want to throw out there for us to talk about? Because I already got some, but I'm gonna let you open it up, ladies first.
I mean, you already introduced it. Let's just get that one out the way. Um, the MLM.
Right.
When we were at FinCon, there was an MLM conference also taking place, and so that was pretty ironic. Um, but you know what? I was kind of thinking about while we were talking earlier. You haven't shared anything regarding your scam stories. You did share like the behind the scenes, how they think. Uh,
Right.
have you ever fell victim to any scams?
Nah, like, I did an MLL thing before. I did one of the multi-level marketing, selling prepaid legal. And I tell you, like, I personally would put that in the scam category,
Okay.
but it's technically not illegal. You know what I mean? The thing with these multi-level marketing things, and the reason I fell for it, one, I was like, I don't know, 17 to 18, so I still had zits and I was just young. And I saw a guy who was like, "What? You're your own boss and you're going to the movies at noon on a Tuesday. I want to go to the movies at noon on a Tuesday." So I'm selling prepaid legal to everybody in the dorms. And I'll be honest, like, I didn't lose money on it. Like, if we looked at it at the end of the day, for maybe a 3 or 4 month period, I probably made $500 or $600 a month,
Nice.
doing it. It just took a lot of time, and I know most people just didn't make anything. But it was one of those situations where MLMs are like, I always say everybody feels the need to be a part of something. And I remember as the guy was explaining it to me, he gassed me up so perfectly too. He had on a suit and he get in his car at the shop, and I'm broke as hell. Excuse me. It's certain curse words I try to avoid. So I'm broke as hell. So I got my car in the shop, and I'm like, man, I hope I got enough to make sure I got everything done. And we
Mhm.
having this conversation. So I'm like, tell me more. And he was like, this is where I should have known it was a hustle. He was like, you know what? I got some place I want to invite you. What you doing Wednesday at 9? My dumb ass was like, I ain't doing nothing, Mr. Guy in the suit going to the movies at noon, guy. Sure, I can go with you. And what did they do? They take me in. It's a beautiful plush hotel. Unbeknownst to me, they do this shit every week. Every Wednesday at 9, they have a bunch of people who are kind of foolish like myself at that time go
Mhm.
to this place. And I mean, they had fog machines, they had food, and it was a beautiful thing. And everybody was on stage talking about this. Oh, you can market, and then this. And I was just sitting there. I had stars in my eyes. I was like,
They do
yo,
that every week. The ones I went to, the meetings, I've gone to several different meetings. I've had friends who wanted to do these things drag me, and I was just like, okay, I'll go, but I'm not signing up. They've never been that elaborate. That they've never been that like cool, like fog machines.
yeah, nah, this one, they came out on stage and they played this amazing music, and it was packed. I mean, it was probably an event like that. 150 people is a lot of people. It's
Yeah,
probably 150 people in the room, and I was like, "Oh man, this is it." And the next thing you know, and it was a cost to sign up, but the guy was dope. He was like, he of course he made everything so it would be no cost to me really up front. Okay, like for instance, if it was $600 to sign up, and for every person you sign up, it's $300. He'd be like, look, don't even worry about giving me the 600 cash. He was like, what you do is the first two people that you sign up, I'll sign those people up under me, so I get $600. That'll count as the 600 you needed to pay me. Then everybody else go under you. I was like, thanks,
wow.
Mr. Guy in the suit, man. This is genius.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
But I was like, he doing me a favor. I mean, I felt
Wow.
in hindsight, I mean, my mother had that shit. One of my best friends had it. I I had a dude come to the dorms and do a presentation. And I
Yeah.
know these college students ain't had nothing, but they were signing up. And every time people signed up, I was just saying, I would go to account, 300 in the account, 300 in the account. So I was actually really making money doing it
Yeah.
because I was smart enough at the time to know that, man, college people would sign up for this shit because it's easy. College people would sign up for it. So I was smart enough to see that. But what I didn't see was after you sign everybody up, and the reason they can pay you $300 per person was because the average person kept it for 3 years. So because they know whoever you sign up is probably going to keep it for 3 years, they would advance you a certain amount of money. And so I did make money, but after I kind of went through the dorms and signed all my friends up, it was just so hard to find new people to keep this thing going and going. So it was really all the time I put into that, I probably would have did better getting a part-time job at McDonald's and made more money for the amount of time that I put into it. You know what I mean?
Okay. Do you whew, is that the only one you've done?
That was the only one I did. I'm real cautious about my coins, and the other thing is I just don't trust most people. So
Yeah.
most times if somebody come to me like, oh man, I got this thing or that, or I hear something, I'm like, get the hell out of here. Like I typically don't believe most people for most things. I know it's probably a bad way to look at it, but it's
No,
just kind of
you have to be careful.
I come from an environment where you always got to be defensive because people are always trying to take what you have. So
Yeah.
I kind of keep that mentality, unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it.
You never know.
Right,
Were
right.
you signing people up under you? Like, were you just signing them up for the service, or were you signing them up to like join?
Oh,
Um,
I would sign them up for to join and the service. Very few, most people I signed up to actually they would get the service and then they would actually join to do the marketing aspect.
mm,
Very few people, a small percentage of people would just be like, I just want the service and don't want to make the money. Because I
mm,
know if it was younger people in high school, they don't give a damn about having an attorney, but they care about what I can sign somebody up and get $300 for 10
yeah.
minutes of paperwork.
Mhm,
Bet. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
that was kind of how I capitalized on it. But like I said, the amount of time I put in once I went through those people who I were in my immediate circle who I could reach out and touch, it
Mhm.
just required too much. Always talking to people about something and trying to convince them. And the amount of time I spent, I probably could have made more money in less amount of time if I would have just worked part-time at like Arby's or some shit.
It is. It takes a lot of your time, and like you said, it's usually not worth it. You don't
Yeah.
realize that because of the way they make it seem. They make you feel like you're a failure if you don't succeed at it. It's a lot. It's like even psychological.
Right.
Like the way the whole meetings are set up. Who?
Yeah, it's designed to everybody wants to be included in something. You
Hmm.
want to be included. If you're a YouTuber, a lot of YouTubers, they don't want to just make content. They want to be included in the circle of people who are making content and also making a living doing it. We all want to feel included and part of a pack, so to speak. Whether your pack is your immediate family or you and your close relatives, and they give you that same outcome. Here's I think is the interesting thing, and you tell me your point on this. This is how you know that even though MLMs are legal, this is why I put them in the scam category. Because most of the time, their products are terrible. The products that they sell are some of the worst products out there. Because if you have a good product, right? If you have a good product, you would just put it a commercial on TV or put it on the internet, and people would see it and say, "I want it." You've never seen a Tesla commercial, and you never seen someone come up to you say, "Hey, I sell Tesla. Sign up under me, and you can make money." You know why? Because Tesla is inherently a good product, and good products sell themselves. So anytime you see a product out there where it has to have levels of people marketing it, you already know that that product is probably ass in the first place. That's just kind of my take. What you think?
I mean, that makes sense. It makes sense. Like, why would they try to pay these people? Like, that's a cut that all these people are getting.
Right.
So, and you're right, the products are not that great. You hear there was a really popular, how should I say it without calling them out? They did like supplements, they did
Mhm.
shakes, right?
Right, right, right.
Years later, it comes out that the number one ingredient in is sugar, with sugar in their product.
These are fitness shakes and it's full of sugar and
Oh
shit.
my goodness. I'm just like, wow. And it's like, it's crazy. Like the people selling it, the people buying into it, or even purchasing the products. It's just
Right, right.
people just get so blind
Yeah.
to really but I hope people are waking up. I mean, information is right at our fingertips, right? So I'm trying to get better at, just Googling stuff.
Right, 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 right. Exactly. I think Google is one of the most amazing things because you can look something up in a minute. And I think that's why, like I talked about the gentleman I represented with the Ponzi scheme.
Mhm.
That's why he targeted older folks, because older folks are less likely to be like, let me pull out my phone and Google
Yeah.
this guy's name. Let me look at his background. And so
Mhm.
I want to pull up some cool data on the screen, right?
Okay.
And before I do, hey, if you want to bring up something, as long as it's something that's truthful, I don't give a damn if you bring it up. I don't care if you bring it up or not, because hey, I'm an attorney. You can say the truth. If it's the truth, is the truth. Is nothing defamatory about a truthful statement. You know what I mean? So like, what, you gonna sue me for telling the truth? Okay, man, get out of here. So just as a caveat, but I wanted to bring up MLM. I'm gonna talk about it and I'm gonna say their name. I don't give a damn. We're gonna talk about Herbalife. Now I know about Herbalife because I had friends and family members who 2 years ago, before the pandemic, they were in the gym as personal trainers and they were selling supplements and shakes. And I haven't seen them put a Herbalife ad or talk about their products or shake in 2.5, 3 years. But we're going to look at Herbalife and their compensation plan. And Herbalife is interesting because it's actually a documentary on Netflix of people who came to this country from, foreigners, and they thought that Herbalife was their way out, and they end up with a bunch of shitty products in their place that they can't sell. And so that's what made me, I was like, you know what? We're going to pull up some info on Herbalife. Let's take a look at their compensation and how much money people are making. Because that was the thing. When we were at the conference, I saw an influx of black people come in. So immediately I was like, there are a lot of black and brown people. Why are they here? So we asked, and I'm like, is it travel? And once I found out it's MLM, I'm like, oh God. But the first thing that of any conversation I had, they all said and talked about it. They didn't talk about what the product was. They talked about how much money. They was like, oh, the guy 2 levels above me made $400,000, and so they talked about these numbers. So I said, let's look at some of the numbers behind these multi-level marketing things to see how much money is being made if people are really making money in the first place. And so when y'all see these numbers, I know it's going to be quite interesting to y'all. Let me go ahead and pull it up, and I'll talk it through. You could chime in, sis, if you got something, all right?
For sure.
All right, so shout out to this website, Talented Ladies Club, because they actually compiled this information and had it set up amazing. I actually went and looked at, where it says our story, because I was like, what is the Talented Ladies Club? But it's actually interesting because their role is focused on integrating women back in the workplace. So in doing that, when they probably have people in their circle come to them about things, they have to do research to verify the validity. Is it something good to do or is it something bad to do? So that's how they actually came up and posted this article.
Okay.
All right. So we're talking Herbalife fitness gurus. How much money can you really make working for MLM Herbalife? Now let's go ahead and scroll down and take a look at it. How does Herbalife work? It's 3 ways. You can buy products at a discount on your own or for your household to use. You can sell products to make retail profit. You can recruit others who want to consume or sell products. Okay. Now, for me, which one of these strikes to you as the red flag to be very afraid, be very afraid?
All of them. All of them. My goodness.
Right. Hey, like we said, if someone wants you to pump their product up, their product doesn't have enough pull. But for me, number 3 stands out. Well, number 3 just screams. Well, as soon as I see the recruit others who want to consume or sell products, like my spidey senses is just tingling like hell.
For sure.
But let's go down and look at this. How much money can you really make with MLM Herbalife? In order to get an idea what you can expect, let's take a look at these numbers. 50% made less than $370 a year. 50%. That's 50% made less than $370 a year. 10% made just $6,965 per year. Okay, so let's just put this in context. So right now, if you look at those numbers, 60% of people are making less than $7,000. You know what I mean? 10% are making $7,000. About 50% are making less than $370,000. My $370. My son cuts grass in the summertime and makes more than $370 a year than most people who are selling Herbalife. Just put that into context.
Dang, you didn't have to drag it like that.
Hey, these are facts. If you want to come for me, it's facts. You know what I mean?
That's hilarious. That's crazy. That is crazy. And it's just like people put up a facade. I'm doing so great. This is working so well. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's really working terrible. And this is where it gets really interesting because the top 1%, and
Mhm,
this is the top 1%, the top
mhm.
1% made more than $108,000. So literally 1% of people who sell Herbalife are making, according to these statistics, some type of livable wage. You know what I mean? Like
Oh my gosh.
it's kind of crazy if you think about it. Now, I think these next numbers underneath, and then we're going to just kind of pull out and talk about it. But these next numbers underneath are really interesting.
Mhm.
So according to the numbers, okay, less than 15% of their distributors in the US earn any money from them. By our math, Herbalife had 464,736 distributors.
Mhm.
Given the figures above of this number, 399,000, almost 400,000 made nothing.
Oh my goodness.
About 30, I'm rounding up, about 35,000 made less than $370 a year. Again, about 7,000 made more than that $6,000 a year, almost $7,000. 697 people out of 464,000, only 697 people made more than $108,000 a year.
Mhm. Mm.
So I mean, I think the when we talk about hustles and MLMs, they aren't illegal, but with numbers like that for me, with numbers like that for me, they fall in a real high likelihood that you aren't going to make any money, you aren't going to make anything livable, and the amount of hours you put in, you'll be better with minimum wage being $15-$20 an hour in place. You might as well get a part-time job and work 3 hours a day, and you would be better off than doing this, you know. So
Mhm.
what do you think about those numbers? He said don't drag
I was shocked. I'm getting into the screen like, "What?"
them.
Yeah, that's crazy. But it kind of also has me thinking about other forms of like that kind of stuff, like independent contracting. Like that's a way to work for a company without actually being employed by them.
Right.
So I just would say like be careful because there are other situations don't that don't require you to recruit people. So it's not technically MLM.
Right.
But it's similar where you're working and doing all this stuff, but they're not really paying. You're putting all this time and energy in, and you're not making anything off of it. So
Right.
there's
And
different ways. People have to be careful out here.
right. And that phrase independent contractors is often one that gets challenged in court because from a legal standpoint, a lot of employers like to have independent contractors because it's perceived as a way to limit their liability when you can say, hey, that person wasn't an employee, he was acting as an independent contractor. So, you know, a lot of times you'll have those challenges come up. Let's just put it into context. If I were a celebrity and let's say I hired people to do security for me, somebody ran up on me just to get an autograph, but somebody in my security entourage cracked this
Mhm.
dude's skull open, right?
Okay.
The
Mhm.
first thing I'm gonna argue is like, hey, I hired this dude, but I hired him as an independent contractor. So
Wow.
whatever he did was on him. It shouldn't do anything with my company. I shouldn't be held liable. You can sue an employer for the act of the employees. That's why they use independent contractor to separate and put some distance there. And so in those instances, when you're talking about independent contractors, a lot of times the courts look at how much control and decision making did the employer have over the scope and the directions of the job? And
Mhm.
if the greater that is, the more likely that person is an employee, not an independent contractor. Therefore, if they're an employee, they could be sued and you could be sued as their employer. So that independent contractor thing is a real unique area. So let me know what's next on the list. Give me the next one you want to talk about, because I felt like I dragged Herbalife, deservingly so. What are you
Uh,
going to talk
there's
about?
so many out there. There's so many out there, and any product or kind of service could be an MLM. Like there's, body care, makeup,
Mhm, mhm,
without
mhm.
calling them out. Um, I did Primerica in college, which was the financial literacy one. I paid my money and that was about it. I didn't sign anyone up. I didn't work with any clients. It
What
was
was the cost to actually get started? You never remember what it cost you
like
then?
$500, something like that.
Right, right, right.
Um,
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. So let's leave the MLL folks
yeah, let's
alone.
leave
But
it. Let's leave it.
let's leave the MLL folks alone. We're gonna pass it, but the numbers are what they are. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So what's another one that you see people commonly fall for? And it could be a scam as in something illegal, or something that it may not be illegal, but it's a high probability that if you do it, you're probably gonna take a L.
Nowadays people are looking to elevate, to learn in different ways. And there are a lot of people who are posing as experts. So I would say fake gurus is a next one, another kind of scam we could discuss.
Right, right. And so I think that's a good pivot you made, because we're gonna talk about and this one hits home for especially somebody like me who and you who are in the finance realm. We promote content related to financial literacy. There are a lot of gurus out there. Okay. Like it is what it is. There are a lot of gurus out there. And you can be very knowledgeable in an area even if you don't have credentials. If you don't have an Esquire or a financial coach or an MBA, I'm not saying that you cannot be competent and above competent. You can be very highly proficient in an area due to independent research, but there are a lot of gamesmanship out there with fake gurus give advice. And this is my litmus test. If I watch a finance channel, like I said, I'm an attorney, but I'm not, end all be all. I don't know everything. But one thing I do know, I know what the hell a crime is. Okay. I've been doing this for over decades. This big ass gray patch can vouch for it. I know what a crime is. So the minute, if it's a finance YouTuber or something like that I'm watching, the minute I hear something that gives me cause to pause, like, damn, that's criminal, I'm done with you. I don't care. You can have 80% of your content can be good. But if you have a small percentage and I see that, I'm like, it kind of turns me off. So I definitely
Your
think the fake
reputation.
guru
Mhm.
is out there.
I get that. Your reputation is everything. And so, you have to be careful as a professional. If you are a true professional, there's just certain things that you do, certain things you say, don't say. Um, and, just people have to look out for fake gurus. Um, I don't know. Again, it's like people are looking for ways to level up. And so I remember a few years ago, what was really popular were the guys on YouTube who would show off a lavish lifestyle. And, their hustle was getting people to sign up for courses on how they could live this lavish lifestyle. And when you step back and think about it, they weren't talking about what they were actually doing. The
Mm-hmm,
hustle
mm-hmm.
was they were getting their money from people who were paying into trying to learn.
Right, 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 right.
And so right there, that's a perfect example of the fake gurus that you have to really watch out for. Like, what are you really signing up for when you are signing up with this person? That's a red flag right there. Like, what am I learning? What have they learned? Where did they get their education?
Right, right.
Um, things like that you should really be looking for to try to avoid being scammed by a fake guru.
Right. It's funny. I was just looking at this comment that Twan put in here, and I was like, see, when I saw this comment about the gift card scams and flipping them, things like that are gonna target people who are elderly because they're like, I don't think you could call anybody under the age of 40 and give them that, and you won't get cussed the hell out. But somebody older,
I've never even heard of this. This is crazy.
yeah, it gets wild. Oh, I got a video of one that I saw just a month ago in DC on the news, and I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna blame the scammers. It was illegal. I'm gonna blame the dumbass people who fell for it because some stuff is just too
Oh
ridiculous to
my
even
God.
be. Some stuff is too
Victim
ridiculous to
blaming,
even
victim
believe.
blaming.
I said I'm gonna blame them, but before we turn that page in that video, hey, of course I got a video, and I want to show this. Okay, we got some, I see a lot of legals in the room. I see a lot of, people who got some legal background, some legal knowledge in the room. And hey, I only, again, here's the caveat. I only put it out there if it's the truth. So I want to show a video clip from guys who have one of the biggest finance channels out there. They actually are managed by like CIAA. That's a big time company who manages athletes. So these guys are big in their space, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. I give credit and props where credit is due. When I put this video up, I watched a lot of their content, and I would say probably 85% of it, I'm like, okay, that's sound advice. So it's a real gray area between giving advice or if you have someone come on your platform and give advice. Because
Mhm.
now, if I invite somebody on my platform and they tell you they could, do something that's crazy, like I'm probably going to be like, what the hell? You need to explain that because that don't make no sense to me. And I'm not a genius, but I'm not the stupidest person in the world. I just look like this. And so I said,
Are
I'm
you
just gonna,
calling him out right then and there?
yeah, I'm gonna ask. No, I gotta ask because there's people in the chat watching, and what'll happen is bad information will come out. And I've been in the comments. I'm gonna show you this clip, and I'm gonna show everybody this clip. And when I went in the comments, all I saw was, "Yo, he giving out gems. This is free game." And I just was like, "Yo, this is a crime." And so, shout out to my guy Pocket watching with JT because I actually, watched his show and I saw him talking about this guy, and this is kind of how I started to look and go down this rabbit hole. But I feel like if you have a platform, if incorrect information is put out, you have to either correct it then, or if you don't correct it then, any alternative, take that content down or post a video saying that, hey, we had a video where
Yeah.
XYZ was said on this date. We want to give a caveat. Some of those things may be inconsistent with,
Mhm.
you got to have that PR ability to rectify things because it'll also limit your liability for any potential legal exposure.
Yes.
So let me go ahead and pull this next video up. Again, I gotta do it, sis. I'm sorry. Let me pull this
I
next
did not
video
sign up for this.
up. All right. So the platform is Earn Your Leisure, EYL. Like I said, most of the things that I've heard on their channel from most of the people is salient advice that didn't strike off alarms as being criminal. Now, this individual who's on the show, I'll just give his acronym, but they call him 500. Now, I want you all to listen to this call. Y'all make sure y'all let me know in the chat if y'all can hear it clearly. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, but we're going to listen to this call and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. From what I heard as an attorney, it was some things that just jumped out and gave immediate red flags. Okay.
Safety first. We coming to you, Krista. Unmute yourself. You've been unmuted.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Oh, you
We
about
not.
you about to say?
Yeah, it's some things we not. I'm not careful. You guys tune in and check out the EYL episode. A lot of stuff and tactics I covered. on turning credit to cash. Today we teach you how to go get the cash. And when you go back and watch the EYL episode, you're going to see exactly how to apply it and get busy from there. So just check it out. Just back on YouTube.
If you haven't watched that Earn Your Leisure episode, episode 100, you're doing yourself a tremendous disservice.
Potentially the biggest episode. Kristen, what's up?
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
We great. How are you?
How are you?
I am great, and even better that you guys called on me.
Oh, I love it. Where you from?
Baltimore.
Shout out to
Shout out to
B-More.
B-More.
Thank you, thank you. So, hi, him 500. I have a question. So, I have a cap, well, what is it called? A charge off, and it will not leave for the life of me. And I was wondering if you had any tips on getting it removed. I've already followed your instructions for like the secondary bureaus, but it's still like not going anywhere. And it's with the original debtor, so that's probably why. But I just wanted to get your take on it.
You got Credit Karma?
Yes.
Welcome to your Credit Karma.
Okay, now as we watch this is where it's going to get interesting. I'm gonna periodically pause because I got to give a little commentary, and we may have to punt it around. But just check out this conversation and how this turns out.
As she logs in.
I'm in.
Okay, you in?
Yes.
You go to your accounts, go to your whole credit report,
Okay.
go to the negative account.
You mean the closed account?
Go to the negative account that you want to remove.
Oh, the one I want to remove? Okay.
TransUnion. Go to the account. You want to go to the accounts tab and select the negative item.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You see where it says dispute on the bottom?
Yep.
Put that in, go to dispute.
Mm-hmm.
Once you go to dispute, now you should be on the deletion screen. Don't put anything for ownership. Go down. Right? And then it's going to say, don't put anything for ownership. Don't select any ownership. So the ownership is going to be the first little block that's going to ask you to pick. It's going to give you a lineup of a few different things. You're going to don't put nothing there. Go down below it, right? And put this count is involved in litigation.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop it right there. And if you got anything you want to add, Melissa, you can go ahead and jump in. But right here, and there, this lady clearly called and said, I have an account that's in collections or what have you. There's a charge off that I can't get rid of. So again, just let's just talk about this from a basic common sense level. She called in and clearly established that she is the in fact owner of the account. This is just how common sense people are going to look at it. He clearly tells her, skip over the ownership platform, right? Don't put anything for ownership. And I want you to click this account is in litigation. Now, right here is where it doesn't take a rocket science or attorney, but everybody involved in this, Blue Suit, the two hosts of the show, the lady on the phone, they all know that this account is not in litigation because she clearly did not say that. But the instruction that was given to her was, put this account in litigation. Now, let me give y'all a little bit of background from a legal standpoint. Credit Karma isn't, in fact, a legitimate credit bureau, right? But when you issue a dispute through Credit Karma, those disputes, if successful, can get things off of your credit with the actual legitimate big three credit bureaus that are out there. So disputes filed through Credit Karma do in fact goes to the credit bureau. So there's disclaimers on there where you actually certify that the information submitted is true and all these stuff. And if it goes to a credit bureau, that's an actual financial institution. So checking the box that it's in litigation when it's not in litigation and actually submitting that just on its face is criminal conduct. That's just, my initial take before I even dove in. But everybody know that the shit is clearly not in litigation. You got anything you want to chime in before I hit play, sis, on this?
Yeah, like I've always been the person, I don't know, but like you have to do things the right way. So if they're telling you to skip things and avoid doing certain things, that's right there a red flag. Like, you have to dot your I's and cross your T's, especially when it comes to financial matters, legal matters, things that could really get you into some hot water. So yeah, that's definitely a huge red flag to have her skip that ownership and just little sneaky things that um, you have to watch out for.
Right. And I think this goes to the point where a lot of times people want something for nothing. Because if that were me, the first question I would have said was, why do I have to skip the ownership? This is my account. I mean, at some point, I would have asked a question, but again, she called and her goal is, I want this off my credit report. So, let's go and finish playing through this real quick.
Oh, an additional comment?
Yeah.
Above additional comments, it's like
Mm-mm-mm.
one above. It
I
says
see.
this account is involved in litigation.
Yep.
All right. Now, additional comments.
Stop. You see the brother in the red hoodie when he said the account involved in litigation. You see how his facial expression changed. Yeah, he's looking because he's confused. Like, wait a minute, why are you saying put this account is in litigation?
I think they're both confused.
But I have not supplied proof.
This is crazy.
Bro,
I'm sitting there like, yo,
University, man.
is he screen sharing?
That's that EY University, man. That's crazy. $1 million worth of game.
Yo, AKA him, not them.
Yo, listen, we going there. Listen, you there?
Yep, I'm here. I have not supplied proof.
Under the doctrine of estoppel by silence. So, proof under the doctrine of estoppel.
Of estoppel? I don't know how to spell it.
ESTOPPEL.
ASTOPPAL.
EST.
Oh, EST. Okay.
By silence. Comma. Engelhardt.
All right, so let me pause this real quick right here because again, if this is where my legal antennas went up when he said estoppel by silence. So in short, I know y'all like, what the hell is estoppel by silence? Estoppel by silence is essentially the case actually has to actually be in court. And estoppel by silence means a party doesn't have to address or bring up either a defense or a claim to something that's being argued because they weren't supplied the pertinent information. So what he's saying is, I had not provided relevant blah blah blah. Estoppel by silence. That's a legal concept that's only applicable if the case is actually in court. So one, the case isn't in court, which he wanted her to put that it was in litigation. Now he's asserting this legal claim that's not applicable because it's not an actual court case. And this is where it gets interesting because now he's going to give her a case citation. And I didn't even look this case citation up, but I knew it was wrong off the jump when I heard it. Then after I heard it, I said, that's not right. And I'll explain this after he gives the case citation. So right now he's giving a citation to a legal case that has the information of, estoppel by silence, which he's instructing her to put as if he is a licensed attorney in Baltimore where this lady is located. He's having her spell out the case name now.
And then V period. Short verses. Raven. GRAVENS. In parentheses MO. 281. Separates space bar. Capital SW.
All right. So this is another thing that, I picked up on because I've been practicing law for a long ass time because I'm old. Now, let me explain a little bit how legal cases work, right? If I got a situation in Maryland, I'm a resident of Maryland, I want to find a case that's exactly similar, where the facts are similar to the same situation I'm dealing with, where the court ruled in their favor. So this is the thought process. When this lady called, she originally said she was in Baltimore. He told her to list it in litigation. He gave a crazy legal doctrine that's not applicable. When he went through the case, the two things that jumped out to me was after he gave the case name, Englehart versus Grace Givens, he says, comma, some numbers, MO, that's the state. Then he says later on, SW, Southwest. So this is a Missouri case. This was a case that was heard in Missouri that he is giving this sister to put in her dispute who is in Baltimore. It's not even remotely the same jurisdiction. A Baltimore judge would not care about a case that happened in Missouri, even if the facts were analogous. But this is just kind of the type of thing you have to look out for when people are giving advice, thinking to be an expert in a subject matter area. Now I'm gonna play the rest of this all the way through. It's not much longer, maybe another minute or so, because at the end, it was a big round of applause and cheering like this guy did something great. And the only thing he did was expose this lady, the host of this show, to potential litigation.
715, 719, and then put, I presume that no proof of the alleged debt, nor therefore any such debt, you with me?
I presume that no proof of the alleged debt,
Nor therefore any such debt, in fact exists, period. All right. Now, go submit. If it doesn't say copy the comment section that you just typed out.
Yep.
Copy that just so you have it on your clipboard if you got to redo it. And now, go through and press and submit. And now, if it doesn't say delete right then, redo it a second time because sometimes the system glitches. So go ahead, press submit.
Okay.
They look confused.
Continue. But, okay.
Yeah.
And, okay, submit. Okay.
He whispering like, I don't know about this.
Is reviewing your dispute.
Okay. So let that sit. Give us about 5 minutes to 10 minutes. If you don't get a deletion notice, come back. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Wow. Give a round of applause for this guy, right?
Yes.
This is crazy.
This is amazing. This is $1 million worth of game.
We gotta keep our eye.
The most dangerous man, and they say he was dangerous. Yeah, he is dangerous. It's crazy.
Yeah, he is dangerous. Oh my gosh.
That is, I just wanted to give a quick take on, Nat from the Southwest reporter. Come on, get up out of here, hot girls. We don't want them in that show. Get out of here, guy. But yeah, it just goes kind of crazy to show some of the stuff that goes on. So what you said, the biggest point you made was, hey, you got to learn how to use your Googles. You know what I mean? If someone gives you information right then and there, don't be so in a rush to submit it, because this guy's citing legal citations like he's an attorney, and once you click that submit button, that's an actual claim with a fraudulent false statement that was made to a financial institution as defined by the federal government, which is in fact a crime. And I know because I've put people in jail for making false claims and false statements on documents to financial institutions. So that was just kind of my take. What you got? Anything before we move on to the next one with that one, sister? That was wild. I know that was wild.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of things in that clip. It was a lot of misinformation. Like, I feel like a lot of people become gurus after hearing something and just, maybe they just really wanted to share that information. And
Right.
look, I can make a quick buck off of sharing this, but when it comes to getting information or help yourself, you have to vet the person. Like, what are their credentials? How long have they been doing this? Um, because a lot of times it's just misinformation. I'm sure that guy heard that somewhere and is just running with it. And doesn't realize, like, you can't really be doing that. I don't know. I don't know the guy. Uh,
Right.
but
I think the thing is, and again, I'm not saying that people with credentials can't give you game and can't teach you about something, but
mhm,
the credentials and the certifications that you have to do what you need to do, the credentials, the certifications I have to perform my job, a lot of times those credentials, that school and those certificates, those degrees, they actually create a real fiduciary relationship where you actually have to act in a manner not to screw somebody over. You have to act in the person's best interest. So, you know, it- again, someone without credentials can give information that could be helpful, that could be truthful, you know, but they don't have that necessary fiduciary relationship of trust with you. So it's a lower standard, there's a lower burden for them to be accurate. It's a big ass high burden for me. If a client came in, I had a client and I gave him some wrong information, I'm risking ineffective assistance of counsel. I risk losing my license. So I have to conduct myself in a way where if it's something I don't know, I have to say, you know what? Courts are split. I don't ever want nobody to know what I don't know. You know what? Different jurisdictions and courts are split. Let me do a little bit of research and I'm going to get back to you because I want to make sure I give you the right information. And that's what you want to look for. Sometimes the fast answer is the worst answer. You know what I mean? The person who can say, you know what, let me think on this and I get back to you is probably the direction that you want to go in. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, so many people out here just trying to make a quick buck, unfortunately, but it's really misinformation. Do your research. And so something I did write down, when you're getting information, a lot of your sources, you don't know what sources out there are accurate. But for me, a rule of thumb is to go by .gov and .org
Mm-hmm.
sources. .gov, it's coming from the government. If you're looking at an IRS, like if you're
Right.
looking at something with regards to taxes, irs.gov, if it's on that site, then that's probably the most accurate information there is on whatever you're looking for. .org, that's an organization that's putting it out there. So, um, you know, let's say you hear something, you go look it up. I would say look for those .gov.org websites to confirm what you're looking for.
Right. I think that's great advice. Definitely a gem to drop. Another thing you can do, which is really easy, and again, we know that Google isn't the world renowned truth, but it's always a good starting point. If you're about to do something, whatever it is, that financial move you're about to make, type that in, and then afterward, type the word fraud or scam and read what comes up.
Yeah.
Start there. If someone says, I got a great course that I recommend you take, you should take my course. Or, hey, I got this high speed investment. Literally type that in the word scam or fraud after and just read. When something is bogus and people get hosed, one thing they do is when we have a great service, like if I go to a restaurant and I get great service, is a very slim chance that I'm gonna write a review. But if I go to a restaurant and get bad service, I'm writing a damn review. I'm gonna be like, this shit was trash. So if people get taken advantage of, hosed, there'll be so many posts and blogs and things about it. So that's always a good way. Put whatever the topic is that you want to know and put the word fraud, scam, reviews, any of those things afterward, and that'll give you at least a starting point to see what other people are saying about whatever that venture is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Take the internet. The internet is just so helpful in so many ways, and people are on there telling their experiences with people and companies. So definitely do your research.
Yeah. So let me ask, and I know You got another one or anything, or you want me to just truck on to the next one and get through it? What you got? I give you the choice. What you want to do?
So something that popped into my mind
Mm-hmm.
here, I was scrolling on social media and I saw just on the topic of misinformation. So someone put out there that you know how the government or the IRS is cracking down on getting just tracking money that's being sent back and forth like via Cash App or
Right,
PayPal,
right.
things like that. So someone put on here, ooh, what web? I don't even remember where it was, but basically that if you send money through Zelle, you don't have to worry about it. And of course, in the comments, everyone's like, "Yeah, this is great information." Blah 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 blah. But I scrolled to a comment where an actual tax professional is like, "A tax professional here, no."
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like this is not something you can do and get away with. With Zelle, if you're a business owner, you do have to supply this information, blah blah blah. So it's just like, just a lot of times, again, I don't want to single anyone out, but like it's just misinformation that people are running with,
Right,
and
right,
the
right,
only way to really protect yourself is to confirm it on your own before
right.
moving forward.
I agree with everything you said, and it's funny because you know, I want to say I think that rule change is going into effect either either next year, but at some point the IRS said, with so much money being transferred through these apps, WhatsApps and Cash Apps and all this other craziness. And so the rule, and again, this is something y'all can Google, but if I'm not mistaken, at the time when it came out, it was any amount once over $600 has been transferred through that particular medium, those institutions were required to send the government a notice. So if you sent $500, if I send $500 a year between me and my son, it won't be anything. You know what I mean? But if I send $700 because it's over $600, Cash App is required to say, hey, we got to provide the government with notice of everybody who had transactions that exceeded $600. So I believe that's what it was. But that's the other thing too. When you fill those things out, and I know, because I always say a lot of criminal activities get done via Cash App, but those lines that ask what it's for are important. You know what I mean? If I'm transferring a money to my son or money to you for a fundraiser for something I purchased, that's not necessarily a taxable event. So it would behoove me to put a note saying that, hey, I'm transferring $100 to Mel because I'm for a donation to donate to XYZ. So that's actually wouldn't count in that $600 because it's expressly for something else. Now, I know I'm saying this, and there's going to be some Yahoo who watch this who's like, so what you're saying is I just got to lie on what it's for. You do that if you want to. Right. I'm saying put down a legitimate purpose for it, because depending on what that purpose is, it may not be something that could trigger an event where it should require you or count against you towards that $600 when the government actually has to get notice. You know what I mean? But I think that was definitely a good point.
What happens if you leave it blank?
You can leave it blank, but and I can't, I'm not expressly, I don't know per se, but I can tell you how I would look at it. If there are a bunch of transactions coming through Cash App, and I'm looking at it, and the person have $1,200 worth of transactions, and all of them are left blank, all of that is counted as taxable for me for purposes of everything. That's just how I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
There's a reason you didn't. There's a couple of reasons you probably didn't leave it blank. One, because you don't want me to know what it was for. You know what I mean? Like I'm telling you, me by nature and just what I do for a living. It raises just so many red flags for me. You know what I mean? And then, but that's also if you have people who try to game it and say, "Oh, well, I'm just going to put that I'm repaying the loan back." You can put that, but again, certain things are going to trigger a red flag. Like you had transactions that occurred every month the same time where you were giving the money to the same individual for repayment of a loan. Bullshit. That's like come on. So it doesn't behoove you to try to game the system, because there are people out there, there are whole government agencies out there, and their only job is to come to work to find fraud that people are committing. You know what I mean? So, and they have attorneys, they have investigators, they have auditors, they have forensic analysts. The resources are unlimited. So, you know, that's how I would go. If there's a legitimate reason for it, just go ahead and put the reason. That way, you know, if you put the reason, you know, at a minimum, if you put it, you can clearly separate what's something that may be taxable versus non-taxable. That's just, you know, the best way that I could kind of put that out.
Yeah, in addition to the people they have working for them, they also have snitches. Did you know that the IRS will pay you to snitch on your fellow neighbor who is avoiding taxes? And so, yeah, just do it.
It's
Right.
called a whistleblower complaint, and you can recover it's anywhere from a third, you know, potentially more depending on how much information, but on average about a third. And trust me, I've done whistleblower cases, and I know I've seen the same name come across the desk as the complainant.
Oh
because
my!
That's their hustle. You go somewhere, find out what the fraud is, blow the whistle, get a third, you move on to the next place, because all of it is anonymous. So yeah, people get paid to make the government not lose money. So y'all be very cautious.
Be careful. Yeah.
Hey, are you on a hard time limit, sis? Because I got a couple things I wanted to run through, but if you're on a hard time limit, we can tap out.
I am not on a hard time limit.
Okay, because I thought this one was interesting, right? Now, this may be a little, y'all know the later it goes in these lives, they tend to get a little crazy, right? Again, this was on the news. These last two I'm going to show were something that's on the news. One we're going to talk about, and one there's a video of, right? Okay. Let's go to the one where there's the video of where I'm completely blaming the victim, okay? I'm blaming the victim 90% of the time. I'm sorry, victim.
Oh, gosh.
And this one going to be short. Then the one we're going to close it out with is going to be a little bit interesting, all right? Let me go and pull it up. All right, let's see. All right, we're gonna close that out. All right, right here.
Hi, everybody. First off the top here at 10, a Montgomery County woman says she's out $14,000, and it all has to do with a lottery ticket scam.
And police believe that there could be more victims throughout the region and even the country. Fox 5's Lindsay Watts is live in Rockville tonight with more on the story. Lindsay.
Angie and Jim, police say the victim was just sitting in her car in this parking lot here in Rockville when a man approached. He said, "I have a winning lottery ticket, but I'm undocumented, so I need somebody to cash it for me." From there, police say the scammers watched their game, and in a matter of less than thousands of dollars.
The con artists, this is their life, this is the scam that they do, and they're so good at it, it's almost like they're a magician.
Montgomery County Detective Matt Vendemia was one of the first on scene after the call came in back in April.
$14,000 taken.
He knew right away. It sounded like a long-running scam.
Sounds like a Latin lotto or a pigeon drop scam.
The victim reported that a man and this woman told him
It had something to do with hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Police say the pair convinced the woman she had to pay to get the winnings, and she took out $14,000 from her savings. Investigators say the thieves drove with the victim to her home where she was supposed to be picking up identification to claim the prize. Police say this is video of the suspects taking off with the cash and getting
It looks like they're dancing.
I guess because they were traveling across the country scamming people.
While these cases, says he was able to get prints from the victim's car that linked back to Daisy Castillo Badillo. Police say she lives in Los Angeles. LAPD arrested her there, and Montgomery County's Fugitive Task Force went out to get her.
Now, we talking about using your due diligence, and you got to use your due diligence. What are your thoughts on that one right there? I feel like that's kind of foolish. I feel like that could have been completely avoided with just a little damn common sense.
I agree. I mean, I'm trying to be the nice person over here, but come on now. Come on. But like,
really?
yeah, I mean, but like those kinds of things are common. Like, I'm just trying to jot them down before they escape me. But back in the day, when when Western Union and stuff was popular, like let's say you bought a car online, like on Craigslist, and then they were like, "Oh, send me the money via Western Union, the down payment or something," and then you would never get a car. So
Right.
things like that, like it's just so easy to scam. And then something else that popped into my mind. This has nothing to do with finances, but I remember, like years ago, like people would like come across you in the parking lot, and they were like, "Oh, I could give you a psychic reading." Like they would say something about you that they could probably read about you, and then like it would pique your interest and like, "Oh, you might know what you're talking about." So like that's like an example of a scam that really like kind of randomly popped into my mind.
Right.
Like just like it's everywhere.
Yo, with stuff like that, I'm victim blaming. I'm sorry. Like a random person come up to you in your car in the parking lot, and you take them to your house and giving them $14,000.
You didn't think at all.
I'm gonna be honest, real talk. Real talk. They would have just got. I could see why they won't get. I could see why they probably went across the country and got a lot of people with this, because I would be too damn embarrassed to call and tell anybody that I felt for that BS. I'd be like, man, I can't let people know like my name is and I got caught with this scam. I would feel like a straight buffoon. So
I mean, they know who to target. I mean, if the scam was that they couldn't cash it because they were undocumented, right? So they probably went to someone who could relate and was like, oh, calling them up, making them feel comfortable. Hey, I'm undocumented.
Right.
Ooh, I can imagine. That's just horrible. That's horrible. Ooh.
Yeah, I couldn't have been the police officer who took that report. I'd have been laughing my ass off. I'd have been like, "You say you did what now?" Hold on, I gotta sneeze. Hey, I hope that sister gives her money back, but god damn, that
Never.
I couldn't genuinely. I felt a lot better for people who fell for schemes that I think are more believable, at least. You know what I mean? A little bit more believable than something like that. Now, the last one I had, I was talking about, and if it, we can punt around things, but again, this is something I just recently saw on the news. It's a scheme, right? Now, I will say men and women both fall for the scheme, but I think it's more a scheme when women are victims. I'll explain that, okay? Don't beat me up, ladies. Let me get my point out before y'all jump on me and bash me over it, okay? Anytime you can play on someone's emotions with certain things, I always tell people that's where you need to be cautious. If you got somebody who's saying, hey, I got the greatest investment in the world, and us as Black people, we need to come together to have these things. When people start playing on race, when people start playing on religion, hey, this is a thing, I'm only talking to like-minded Christians. When people start saying stuff like that, you should be on high alert. And so, and I say that to say that, it's certain things that are easy to scam people when you talk about love, when you talk about finances. And one thing that we see, this was just on the news the other day, a lady met a guy on an app, and in a matter of 2 months, this dude finessed her out of $106,000. And so now again, I think it's a scam when it happens to women, because I think it happens more to women. Now with guys, it happens too, but with guys, I think it happens more in the context of women are probably looking for love. Guys are probably on OnlyFans simping, trying to do something. So I think if the guys are on OnlyFans simping, right? Now I want to because I think there's a distinction. You can correct me if I'm wrong. This is my thoughts on it. I feel like the Tinder swindler, those mostly were women who were genuinely looking for love and relationships, and these guys got duped. Now, guys get finessed too, but I think it's less common on that platform. I think the guy is probably being a little bit creepy. He might be on OnlyFans. He might be donating and next thing you know, he came up all this bread and didn't get whatever he expected or thought that he was going to get. But I think that that's a scam that's actually more commonplace, where people are getting pulled by their emotional heartstrings, men and women, and people are finessing them out of hundreds of thousands of dollars on the hopes of, oh, I love this person, or this person is my girlfriend. What do you think about that? This was literally, I just saw it on the news yesterday, because I didn't even think about it until I saw it. And I was like, damn, people still falling for that in 2022?
Yeah, I mean, love is a hot topic. It's always been, but I guess right now for sure, like everyone's looking for love. All these shows about love, prison pen pals, like
Right.
all this, like, so yeah, I could believe that. Like, but I agree, like from a woman's standpoint, she's probably, but guys are looking for love too. So, but I'd say more so women are victims to like these Tinder swindlers and things.
Right. Yeah, and there are guys out there who are looking for love who fall for it. I don't agree with that. I think, if we looked at statistically, and I don't know, I'm just assuming, I think it would probably be more women who fall susceptible to those type of things. So I'll tell you, this is me. Now, it's certain variations of advice that I like to give. Sometimes, and it depends on who I'm talking to. Sometimes I give advice as a legal counsel. Sometimes I give advice as a husband. Sometimes I give advice as a dad. Sometimes I give advice as a brother. Sometimes I give advice as, yo, dog, this is how you need to move. This is what you're going to do. Sometimes I give real advice like, this is how you're going to get it. Sometimes if it's my daughter, it's different. So, one of the things I found this out because I actually Googled one day on YouTube, because, it was a phrase I had a running joke where, there's certain guys, I guess women do it too, but guys, they have a phrase for men. It's called hobosexual. You know what a hobosexual is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, a hobosexual is someone who gets into a relationship with women to have a place to stay, to have some roof over their head. And so, I don't know why I was on that concept, but I went down this hole in YouTube and I did a search for like women loaning men money in relationships. Because I know what it was. A homegirl of mine told me that she had a friend who she started dating a guy, and after like 3 weeks, he was like, I need some money to get my car out the shop. And I'm like, so when we know that those sensitive areas, everybody want to find love, and love is a sensitive area. So my general rule is, and maybe I'm old school in looking at this, but I would tell my daughter this advice. If you get in a relationship with a guy, he shouldn't be asking you for shit. Pardon my language, but he should not be asking you. I honestly can't remember prior to marriage where I was ever dating a girl and I asked her like, hey, I need to hold something to do X, Y, and Z. I just was never built that way. It just wasn't something. Maybe I got an old school way of doing it, but apparently it's a really common thing where women are loaning guys money very early on in these relationships. And I just think as a general rule that's a recipe for disaster. You might not get it paid back or something like that. So that's just kind of my take on it.
Yeah. And I just get all these ideas and I take notes as they come to me because I will forget. But yeah, for sure. Dating rules. So the idea that popped up was like some type of webinar where like this could be a topic where like just red flags to look out for in different scenarios. So whether you're dating or whether you're working with a professional or organization, like just ways to protect yourself or just be careful.
Right. I definitely agree. You got to protect yourself. Like, I don't want everybody to have a jaded view on life like I do, but unfortunately, me, just based on my experiences, I guess this is probably the fairest way to say it. I generally assume the worst until I have sufficient evidence to presume it's not the worst. And I know it's probably a lot better to presume that the people have the best intentions. You know what I mean? I have the best intentions. It's probably better to presume that until someone does you wrong, but I tend to do the opposite. I assume like, okay, is this person trying to finesse me? They might be trying to finesse me. So let me be a little bit overly cautious of how I move. And then after a while, I'm like, okay, this person appears to be a genuine person. That's just kind of how I do it. It may not be the best way to do it, but it's kind of my own internal self-defense mechanism from being gamed, you know, just in life in general. That's just kind of, you know, my thought on it.
Sometimes it just takes going through something a couple of times, maybe 1, 2, or 5, to realize like, okay, this is something I should learn from. So yeah, experience is also a good teacher. So
yeah. Yo, so I think we kind of circled the wagon on everything. And I'm gonna be honest, let's just be honest. We could go for 55 hours just talking about scams. And like we could literally just do a whole show on MLM scams and talk about nothing else.
You know what we didn't talk about?
What's that? What you got?
That we take part in and try to get over with. Like, remember I sent you that article about the PPP loans and percentage of unemployment and all of just like the free money that comes our way. But
right.
That are things that, you know, just trying to get free money. I know it's what's the word I'm looking for? Enticing. Like it sounds good. Like we're trying to get something for nothing, but those kinds of things could get you in big trouble. Like,
yeah. So. And I'll tell you, like, I'm not telling nobody to do anything, but I'm not telling anybody to do anything. But the last thing you want to defraud is a government program. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna be. I've had cases where a person had defrauded hundreds of thousands of dollars from a credit card corporation, but the heat didn't get on them until they tried to defraud a government program. Because let's just think about it in the context. If a person defrauds a credit card company, the credit card company has to do an internal investigation. They got to gather all the information up. Then they got to get that information and go to a federal or state prosecutor who wants to prosecute it. Now, let's look at a government program. A government program has a higher priority. You see what I'm saying? Because when PPP was created, anytime a government creates a program to give out money, if you actually look at the legislation, there's also millions of dollars that are solely dedicated to create an office of inspector general. And that agency's only job, is to look at fraud and find fraud in that program. They're not looking at fraud everywhere. So when you talk about unemployment fraud, somewhere there's an agency and their only job is to go to work every day, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and identify people who are doing employment fraud, PPP fraud. So once you delve down that government road, it's going to be a little bit problematic. And that's, if I had to have an area of expertise, is that. And that's one that really should concern everybody, because if I steal from a government program, is essentially if I'm going in your pocket and stealing out money because it's paid with taxpayer dollars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the government does not play. They have all the resources to go after you, and it's a priority for them. So even like I started with the stream, even if it's 2 years later, they're gonna come after you. They're gonna send you that letter. They're gonna knock on your door. You're gonna get got. So
and let's just think about. I'm gonna just go through briefly. This is how many unique ways you could potentially be got. Okay, let's say the general federal statute of limitations for a crime is 5 years. Well, with PPP fraud, they just extended it to 10 years. That's just federal. Let's talk about state level. States have different statute of limitations. Some states in California have exceptions to where the statute of limitations may not start for a criminal offense until the prosecutor finds out about it. Wow. That means it could last forever. Let's move to the civil side. Now, not to mention, you can defraud one program. You can take $20,000 from PPP, get prosecuted criminally, and get prosecuted civilly. So let's move to the civil side. With the civil side, depending on what you're looking at, It could be a 6-year statute of limitations, a 7-year statute of limitations, a 3-year from the date of discovery statute of limitations, a no longer than 10 years from the date that the claim was filed statute of limitations. In civil, double damages, treble damages, which is triple damages. Every time you sign your name on that paper, civil penalties. So stealing $20,000 could be tripled to $60,000. And this is kind of how these programs work. Just think about it. Let's put it in the context of unemployment, because unemployment is the easiest one to think of, right? I file for unemployment. Every month, I have to call in and certify that, hey, I'm looking for employment. I'm not gainfully employed, blah, 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 right? Unemployment lasts 6 months. I fill out the claim, I'm unemployed. I get a job, but I'm like, damn, I don't want to lose this unemployment benefit. So my first month of unemployment checks, I was actually unemployed. The second month I'm employed, but every time I call, I'm like, yeah, I'm still unemployed. I'm still unemployed. Every time you do a false certification, that's a new criminal charge. That's the reason why they have you continually certify. Yeah. So every month that you certify over the phone or sign a document, that's a new certification. That's a false claim, a false statement. So now of a 6-month period, you have 5 criminal charges for every month that you falsely certify. So it could get deep and it could get crazy when it comes to government programs. And the sad thing is, like I said, I could count on on my 2 hands, the number of fraudsters. When I saw this scheme, it actually made me have to really think, like, how did they do this? Most guys are, I'm going to start a business, incorporate it in a month, and hurry up and file for this PPP loan and lie, say I have 12 employees. I mean, most times, literally, the easiest way to find people who commit fraud, they do it the most simplistic, stupidest ways. I could just take a look. Let me look at a company of everybody. This is what I would do. Go to an auditor and say, everybody who got a PPP loan in this area, I want all that information. I want you to run all those companies on that PPP loan through the state secretary of state and see when their incorporation was filed. Yeah. Some of them may not have it. Some of them may not have it filed. Some of them may have filed it 30, 60. Any company who filed their incorporation 60 days before they apply for benefit, I want you to do a further look and go pull the employment records to verify the amount of employees they got. I mean, it's literally that simple, because these guys aren't using rocket science. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Come on now. It's like you gotta really plan and think deeply about defrauding the government or anything or anyone. Not saying that you should, but don't make it easy. Don't make it easy.
Right. Well, I'm not gonna say don't make it easy. Hey, I respect being employed.
Like, come on, be smart about it. Like, come on.
And I said, it's so much, but I would tell you these 2 stories. If you would have saw the videos, you would laugh. But I actually had them pulled up. But I was like, when you start looking at videos, it could get long and long. But it was 2 stories of people who took out PPP loans and committed PPP fraud. One was a police officer who created this fictitious business. The address for his business was the damn police precinct that he worked at. The news guy literally rolled up on him and was like, Officer Johnson, you got $27,000 in PPP fraud, and is your exercise company in this building where you work? And he looking all stupid. It's like, and so that one was wild. But another one I saw, and this was I guess it's common, but this was the first time I saw it, where people would file a PPP loan, right? They fill out all the stuff. I fill out all the stuff for a PPP loan to commit fraud. I say I have a business, and they ask, what's my business address? I don't have one, so I give them your address. So they showed up at this random lady's house, and they was like, hey, we saw that it was supposed to be like an exercise facility. It's supposed to be a such and such fitness here. Do you know this? And this lady confused because she like, what? She's like, this is my house. I live here. But it goes to show that people aren't being really creative in the ways they do this. Now, I'll tell you, because all the times we see these PPP scams, there's always people of color because it's $20,000, $30,000. But, people are doing this at the highest levels. You know what I mean? And a multi-million-dollar case that was filed. It was a guy who was a bank CEO, and he was getting kickbacks for signing off on, when you submit these PPP documentations, they had to prove that people had certain amount of employment records and everything. Well, what happened was, I go to a financial institution. A lot of times, how can I get these bogus documents through? I could lie on them, but in some instances, depending on what the program is, I need somebody to certify that I had the right documentation. So this bank CEO would essentially push through bogus PPP claims, and when people got money, he would get kickbacks. So this dude got millions of dollars in kickbacks. There was another lady who opened up a business in church. Hey, I can help you all. She started a business on helping people to get PPP loans. Literally 99.9% of the loans that her business got would be. So, wow. That's the name of the game.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you want to wrap it up, but I think like, at the end of the day, it's about going back to the basics and getting your own finances in order, really learning what financial literacy is and what having good finances is. And that's, having decent income, having expenses that aren't above your income,
right.
So that you can live comfortably, and so that you can save and afford your lifestyle. So that you can have a plan for your money and for your life. And so you don't feel the need to do these things. So that's kind of where I would kind of leave it.
Yeah, I think that's the greatest way you can close it out. Hey, nobody gonna give a damn about your situation more than you. Not your government, not your friends, not your family. It's up for you to define the terms of your own financial success or any damn success. Before we get out of here, sis, hey, as always, I appreciate you coming in and blessing us. I hope we can do this again, because we could go on some crazy ass topics, you and I, that just may not be finance, may be social related. Let everybody know where they can find you at, where all your social platforms at. And like I said, I'll also put all that information in the description box as well. Y'all make sure to go bless her page on IG and everything as well. Support.
Yeah, Prosper with Mel is the Instagram, and I will definitely let everyone know once like the blog and vlogs begin. I'm planning on starting with a report on just avoiding overspending during this holiday season. But yeah, catch me there. I think it was a great conversation. A lot of things I learned as well, like legal or law and finance go hand in hand, obviously. And so even when you were talking about the guy on EYL, like, how would you know you can't put a case from another state on your
right.
You don't know that.
Right.
So yeah, there's just different things that you need to know when it comes to the legal side to protect you financially as well. So definitely want to continue this conversation, have different talks about different things. So
Hey, I appreciate you being on. And before we go, I got you talked about holiday spending. I got a dope topic, a dope title. I think I'm gonna do it on Black Friday. It's called Ho Ho Hold Up, Christmas Debt.
I like that.
I'm gonna have a Christmas hat on the thumbnail, or I might dress up as the Grinch. It's gonna be dope though.
I like that. I like
Yo, I appreciate everybody for tuning in and support. Y'all make sure y'all go bless this Instagram page. Y'all be blessed. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Thank you.